It is your man DM Cool, and welcome back to Cool Radio. Now, as promised, my guest for the evening in studio, he is Canadian born and raised. He has traveled all over the world to play the sport that he loves most, which is basketball. He was one of the athletes that was profiled in that iconic We the North slogan campaign that took place 2 years ago, which still to this day is my favorite Canadian basketball commercial ever. Hands down, no one or nothing is touching that. And on top of that, he will be participating in this weekend's AllStar Celebrity Charity Game. Ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Dane Smith, who is looking all dapper and fresh today. Mr. Smith, how are you?
Oh man, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming by, man. You are a very busy individual, as I can see from your phone blowing up like it's Baghdad, so it is all good. Thank you for coming through, man. So let's get things started, man. I'm sure the people at home want to know, man, how did you develop the basketball Jones, as they say? How did you fall in love with the game?
Oh man, I fell in love with the game through just being around it since birth. On TV in the area, you know, it's just what you do when you're growing up, right? A ball, basking, just get into it.
Absolutely, man. And as far as, you know, you getting into the game and what have you, you grew up in Toronto. You grew up in Jungle, to be specific.
Yeah, and Jungle, you know, Varna boys, you know.
There you go. And there's always been like a lot of stories about Jungle, and then one of them being the basketball culture that's over there. And what can you tell us about the basketball culture?
Oh man, the basketball culture, it speaks for itself. When I was a young boy growing up, you know, I was watching guys like Phil Dixon, Denham Brown. Those are two huge names in the Canada basketball community, for say.
Shout out to UConn.
UConn, you know. And then, you know, just us watching at a young age, it was like a few of us in the gym, you know, like you go in the gym, you wouldn't be allowed to play because you're too young at first. And then as time goes on, those guys, you know, they stop coming to the gym. And then us as a group, I remember it was about 7 of us that we just kept going to the gym every day. And ironically, all 7 of us ended up getting athletic scholarships to the States. So, you know, it was just a group thing, you know, playing with your friends, and then, you know, just getting an education while you're doing it.
Absolutely. And where did you play in America?
Oh, so man, so first, my path was so different because I wasn't really the school type. So already I knew I had to go to JUCO, junior college. So my first 2 years was in Texas, East Dallas. You know, Kilgore College. It was a great school. I loved it when I was there. Learned a lot. I transferred to the University of Tennessee at Martin. Played there for 2 more years. You know, a solid conference. You know, very good competition. And then, you know, that I also had a twin brother, Dane Smith. He played at University of George Washington.
Okay.
So, you know, just
just taking wherever the game takes you, basically.
Pretty much.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how it all goes down, right?
So, you know, we're both 80s babies, so which means that we grew up in the Vince Carter era. We saw what this man did for the city, and not even just the city, but for the country, which can never be questioned. So what influence did he have on you growing up, just as a general basketball fan?
Man, Vince, I know him as Vince Sanity, first of all.
Say that again, one more time. Say that again.
Vince, I know him as Vince Sanity.
Preach. Continue on, sir. Continue on.
But yeah, so Vince, man, at the time, like, when he was playing, you know, if you look at basketball back then, as a young boy watching it, you just see a guy that's dunking, doing a lot of great things, but a lot of people forget that what the stuff he was doing was his first year in the NBA. It wasn't like he was playing 6 seasons in. He came the first season, he did all that stuff.
Made a statement.
Big statement, and he did it with Toronto on his chest. So, you know, that's why Vince Sanity is who he is, and he's still playing the league till this day. So
absolutely.
And I find it's funny because I remember the very first Vince Carter highlight that I remember seeing, I was probably like 10 years old at the time, was when this guy he had the audacity, the unmitigated goal to dunk on Mutombo. And that, it doesn't happen often. You just climbing a ladder, and you just got the stare down at the end. I was like, who is this guy? Like, wait, hold on, he plays for us? Right? He's on our side? Okay.
Yeah, that's the classical Vince for you, man. Like, even when he dunked over the 7-footer in the Olympics, like, that dude was a human highlight reel every time he stepped on the court, and he was young.
Madness. He was greatest dunk of all time. I don't care what league. Oh, yuck! Just thinking about it just makes our skin crawl a little bit. But nonetheless, man, I feel like with Vince, sometimes he doesn't get that credit just because of how he left, basically.
Yeah.
And there's always a whole bunch of controversy behind that. So, fast forward, it's been 10 plus years since he left. Do you feel that people should just forgive and forget at this point?
Well, I mean, at that time, it was tough. Yeah, he was mixed emotions. Coaches had got involved with that decision.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we're in 2016. If you're still, you can't hold. I mean, Vince was just making a decision for him and his family to go on to where the ball took him, and unfortunately, it stopped in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I definitely think we shouldn't have a grudge. Vince is Vince, man. Like hometown legend.
Exactly.
And the adopted son of Toronto, as I like to call them. Speaking of Vince and his legacy in Toronto and Canada, we now have the AllStar game in Toronto for the first time ever.
Yes,
Do you feel as if it should have happened a long time ago, like it's a long time coming, or is it happening at the right point at the right time?
Well, you don't want to rush anything, but just Toronto as a city and what's happening in the last 2 years, the build up, I feel like this is the perfect time for it. I mean, the weather's kind of cold, but
hey, man.
what can you do? But
it was cold in Brooklyn last year.
There you go, Brooklyn too. So I think this was the perfect timing. With everything happening with the Summer Olympics that we had. I mean, Pan Am Games that we had over the summer. As a national team, how good we did in the FIBA Worlds. Yeah. So I mean, it's just it makes sense, right? Timing's everything, and this is a good time for us to do it. So.
Absolutely, and you're mentioning all those things that happened, all those events that have happened within the last 2 years, and one of them that did happen was the birth of the We the North movement, actually.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned earlier in the show, how you were one of the participants in that slogan. How did that come about for you?
Man, I had came back from overseas. One of my friends hit me up. He mentioned to me about a commercial that the Raptors organizations were shooting, and I mean, I'm not really a camera type of guy, but the information was well put together, and then I went out for the commercial, met the directors, great group of guys, and then after a few days of auditioning and all that, once he knew what we were gonna do, we got on set, and then the rest was just history. But I can honestly say I didn't know that this would happen. Like when we did everything all together, after it aired, give it a 2-week take, it was history. It became history actually. We the North was just that was it. Like you ask anybody in Canada/Toronto, do you know anything about We the North? Yeah. They knew. Exactly. So, the slogan got across to everyone. The campaign did what it was supposed to do. Yeah. So I love it.
And, maybe this is just coming from me because, I'm like a fanboy Canadian basketball guy, but I feel like that was probably one of the greatest basketball commercials I've ever seen, ever. Invention, you know what I mean? Because the last time I felt like this about a basketball commercial was probably the Nike Freestyle commercial from way back in 2001 where everyone's dribbling to that Africa Bambaataa beat, right? But besides then, every commercial in between, not to say that wasn't great, they've been good, they've been enjoyable, they've had some memorable moments, but nothing like that has sparked a movement for basketball, especially within Canada as well. So I feel like a lot of people who are part of that, such as you, or even people who are watching it from the TV screen, we're all part of something, basically. And it just wasn't a commercial for the American audience. It was for us. It was like our call against them in a sense where we don't need your validation, Like, we know how good we are down here. It's up for you guys to take a look at it.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. You said it better than I would have said it.
See, fanboy coming out.
See, I mean, even when a friend told me the first time the commercial aired, it was in the ACC and the Raptors had started playing it before their intro for the guys running in. Yeah. And I started getting text messages and emails and all that. So then I finally looked at the commercial myself, and then once I seen it, I was like, wow, that was really put together. And then later on, when I the person that did the voice, I was like, man, who's doing this? Who's doing the voice? I had no clue.
I wish I did the voice.
But then when you looked into it, like they said that Drake did the voice. So that was him with the voiceover. I don't know if too many people, I don't know who knows that or who doesn't, but
that was Drake who did the voice?
He actually did the voice.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Because that Drake's intonation doesn't sound that deep, man.
That's what I said, but I'm telling you.
Unless they like did like some audio like manipulation or anything, but like that did not sound like Drake though.
Man, I was in with the voiceover.
Wow, that could have fooled me, man. But nonetheless, we'll keep things moving, man. So as we discussed earlier, just like off the record, of course, you play both the point guard and the shooting guard position, basically.
Yeah.
And that has now become a staple in the NBA. So does that show you somewhat of the growth of that position basically over the years, because it was more center dominated, then became more of a swing man type of position that people focus on, but now it's moving more towards the guard. So what's your take on the progression of it?
Well, I mean, as you guys can tell right now with the game and how it's going, I mean, it's a guard game. I mean, I learned that my first year playing rookie. My coach, Michael Ray Richardson, he said teams are only as strong as their guards. And so I feel like coaches have taken the right steps and make sure their guards are good. And if you're in the gym with these high caliber guards every day, you got to find some way to like get an advantage every single time. And so now when you're playing opponents now, it's not, you're not playing the guys you play against in practice. So now your first move will work, your second move will work, and your third move. So now the guards are just that good because of their teammates over time. So I feel like the league, everything is evolving very, very good, and it's just a guard era for now. I mean, the big men, the three, the fours, that era will come back, but for right now, it's just guard league.
Exactly. And a lot of the guards, in today's game, like you're talking Stephen Curry, Russell Westbrook, Kyle Lowry, they're more lethal scoring threats nowadays rather than just being the facilitators. Yeah. So does that help evolutionize the game, or do people feel as if we should be sticking to more of a traditionalistic standpoint as far as being more of the facilitators of the offense and even the defense as well?
Well, it depends on the team, to be honest, because every coach has different philosophies. When you're working, if you get a talented guy on your team, I mean, if his thing is to score off the bounce, then you go let him score off the bounce, right? So I feel like most of these guards nowadays, they were watching someone ahead of them, and not to call anybody a culp or anything, but Allen Iverson, he was probably the main guard. I can honestly say that I see a lot of you guys playing because Allen Iverson was a guy you can sub in the game, and he'll get you 35 to 40 a night. And so if you're watching him just because you like how he plays, when you go to the playground, you're going to try to play like him. And so now you had 4 or 5, 6, 7 years to work on your game like that. So now when you get, your athleticism kicks in, your height, your growth, then it becomes a lot easier. And then that's what you're used to playing. So, that's what it is now, I guess. So.
Absolutely, man. He's definitely someone who revolutionized that position because he was so ambiguous in that regard. People didn't know if he was a shooting guard because he was undersized, or if he was a point guard because he was a bit more ball dominant, basically.
He could shoot. Like,
knocked on an open shot, you're good. And then if you can dribble now, you'll be even better. And if you can make plays, then you'll be even more valuable to a team. So that's what that combo guard position really means. Like, knock down open shots, be able to make plays, and just play defense and just, limit your mistakes. So, that position really, really evolved.
Exactly.
Now, as you mentioned before, you will be participating in this weekend's AllStar Celebrity Charity Game, which will be held here in Mississauga at the Hershey Center. What are you most looking forward to at that event?
Oh man, that event itself. First of all, I want to thank the organization for having me in the game first and foremost.
Absolutely.
I don't want to overlook that at all, ever. So for me, it's more so just being involved, right? Because everybody wants to be involved in something. Some people, if you can't attend the actual, the celebrity game and all that, in the ACC, it's something for you to do, right? So being a part of this and having my friends and family watch, at the end of the day, as long as they can say that they did something in 2016 for the NBA All-Star Weekend, that means the world to me. Because if you guys can come out and have fun and support, at least you did something. And then later on, when I stop playing, that will be a memory. We'll tell our kids like, hey, the NBA came to Toronto that one year, and I had fun. And your kids are gonna ask you, what'd you do? And then you're gonna have stories to tell them. So I mean, for me, that's the bigger scale. For me, being a part of this weekend, you know, the celebrities are coming. You know, I'm just gonna have fun, go out there and just, you know, have a time of my life, man. You know.